All right. So setting up your blanket so that it's in a rolled up fashion, and you'll place it underneath the shoulder blades. So what you may notice if you've done this before is that depending on the day, the roll might be a little higher or a little lower. If you're tighter, you're going to want this roll a little bit lower. And then having something to support the head can be nice, but this is definitely a situation where you try it out and then make adjustments as you see necessary. And you can start off with the knees bent and the feet on the floor. So I'll demonstrate first, and then I'll just come up to the screen. If you have any questions, you can poke them into the chat or unmute yourself. Yeah, and you want your feet to be hips distance apart. So if they're, so spacing them. And what this does is when we have the knees aligned with the hips and then the ankles under the knees, this is allowing your skeletal structure to support you. And we're kind of stacking the joints there. Now, what you may find, and I invite you to just kind of try this out. So you have your knees and they're hips distance apart, and your feet are hips distance apart. Since we will be incorporating some core today, I invite you to just notice how this feels in the lower belly, in the transverse abdominis area. And that can sometimes, when we activate it, feel like you have a drawstring at the top of your hip points and it's getting just a little bit tighter. And when we have a block in between our thighs, this can help us to activate that. So with the knees apart, we actually have to engage our core to keep our knees like this, to keep them hips distance. Now, a more restorative and relaxed variation of this would be to let the knees drop towards each other. There you're relaxing the transverse abdominis. And just notice which one feels better for you this morning. And then we'll begin with observing the breath and allowing this observation of the breath to be the focal point for our attention and draw us into this present moment. And as I say that, I appreciate that this may not be easy. Staying in the present moment is one of the, for many people, most challenging practices of yoga, most challenging practices of life. So know that if, while trying to watch the breath, your mind wanders, the fact that you notice it wandering is an indication that you were present for a moment. So you just bring it back, and this may turn into a dance of you notice your breath wandering, you bring it back. It wanders again, you bring it back. And again, every time you notice, that's an indication of you being present. What you may find as a stronger anchor to keep you in the present moment is observing the physical sensations. So first start by just observing the muscles of the face, Maybe starting with the space between the eyebrows, the muscles around the eyes, the cheeks, and the jaw. Let your head gently flow from side to side, noticing the sensations along the neck, and intentionally keeping that jaw relaxed. Let your head rest in a comfortable space. And then notice the rise and fall of the chest as the breath comes in. Maybe there's a gentle stretch across the front of the shoulders. And intentionally allow the arms to get heavier on the floor and in the shoulder sockets. And now let your attention travel to the ribs. And notice where your attention flows in the rib area. For most people, it's the front of the ribs. But invite your attention to travel to the front, the side, and the back of the ribs. And as you breathe, allow the breath to create this gentle expansion and then contraction. Now check in with the lower back. Notice how the lower back feels, the back of the hips, and maybe an adjustment. Maybe you lift the hips and slide the tailbone a little bit longer. Maybe you're ready to extend the legs long and invite space in the front of the hips. Allow the legs to be heavy and just rest into the hip sockets. And just enjoy a few more breaths with the attention on the physical body. And when you're ready, if the legs are straight, rebending them. Clasp behind that right leg. You can always use a strap. And then readjust the neck. There's a tendency for the chin to poke up when we stretch to reach that right leg. And a little bit of straightening and then bending. Pause when the knees bent. Extend the left leg long. So I'm going to layer on some options. This is the most restorative option. This can be very supportive to the lower back. I'm going to add on some core options. And I'm going to keep layering on options. So just stop when you feel your body is sufficiently challenged. You don't want to feel any discomfort in the lower back. So that's an indication that you go to the previous option. With the hands behind that right thigh, begin to press the right thigh away from you so that the arms become straight. And then keep pressing so that your head, your upper back come off the mat. You could stay here, draw the belly button in. Maybe you lift the left leg off the mat. Maybe you release the hands from behind the thigh and take them behind the head. Now, can you relax the lower back? Can you relax the head into the hands? And then after your next breath, we'll meet up in hugging that right knee and gently rocking the leg side to side. And notice how this feels after the choice that you made, and whether that was the right choice or maybe a different variation. We'll do it one more time. Pause the rocking, stretch the right leg away from you. Keep stretching until the head, the shoulders, the upper back comes off the mat. Maybe the left leg lifts. Maybe the hands come behind the back. Try to relax the lower back, relax the neck wherever you are. Just 2 more breaths. And then you release down, hugging that knee and gently rocking the knee side to side. Pause here, draw that left knee in, hands are on the knees. And if this blanket under the shoulders is too much, you can either slide it away or just make that roll a little smaller. We're going to make some circles with the knees. Now, what you might notice is the lower back is going from flattening to arching. Reverse the direction of those circles. And again, think heavy in the back of the hips. Relax the jaw. And try to stay right here in the present moment by observing the sensations. Pause here. Release the right foot to the mat, clasp behind the left, and begin straightening the leg and then bending. Next time the knee's bent, pause here, extend the right leg long. You're welcome to stay here or press the arms away. Keep pressing till the head, shoulders, upper back comes off the mat. Maybe lift that right leg, but again, you want to make sure that that lower back stays soft. Maybe take the hands behind the head. Now you might find it quite difficult to relax in this pose. We want to try to keep the lower back and the neck relaxed. Release down after your next breath. Gently rocking that left knee side to side. Pause here. Notice how you feel after that round, and then decide what to do for the second round. Pressing that left leg away from you. Maybe the head, shoulders, upper back comes up. Maybe the right leg lifts off the mat. Maybe the hands come behind the head. And then you release. And gently rocking, massaging out that area underneath the shoulder blade. Sometimes those muscles can get a little sticky. And then draw the right knee in to meet the left. Take your hands on the knees and make circles away from each other. So again, we have that arch and then flattening of the lower back. Just watch how the hips roll in the or how the legs just roll in the hip sockets. And now reverse the direction. Pause with the knees together. Lower the feet to the mat. Arms come out to the side. Heel toe your feet to the edges of the mat. Knees come wide. And then let the legs flow from side to side like windshield wipers. Be mindful of the knees. Let the hips determine the range of motion. So when the hips stay stop, sometimes the knees will say, hey, we can do more. But we want to stop when the hips say stop. And now next time the knees are to center, heel toe the feet back to hips distance. Hands come behind the head. Can you draw the lower back closer to the floor? So this is going to require a little bit more action. So think about drawing the lower ribs towards the hips. And then curl up like you're doing a curl. But the intention is on going down. So you've got that roll. As you roll back, intentionally trying to get some movement in the mid part of the spine, the thoracic spine. So we'll do that a couple more times. So keep the ribs drawing towards the hips. The lower back as relaxed as you can. And then inhale, you rise up. You don't have to go very high because the emphasis is going to be on coming back down. So we're using that blanket, just flow with your breath here, to massage out that area. This area can get very tight, especially in the cold weather if we're rounding our shoulders as we go out for our walks or whatever we're doing if the heat doesn't come on in the house. Just do another round and we'll lay back down. And then very slowly make your way to your side. And then up to seated when you're ready. So no hurry here. Sometimes if that area is really tight, you want to take a little while to transition. And we'll come to seated. You may want to roll up your blanket, or if you have a pillow or cushion. And come into a comfortable seat. So maybe it's cross-legged, or you could do this sitting in a chair if sitting on the floor is uncomfortable. Your arms come to the sides. And then on your inhale, reach the arms up. On your exhale, press the palms away. Nice. Let your right hand stay to the floor and inhale the left arm up. As you inhale the left arm, keep the left hip heavy. Now, can you roll the left shoulder back? Take a look up towards the ceiling. And then inhale back upright. The left hand touches down and inhale the right arm up. Same thing, hip is heavy. And then spin the shoulder open. Maybe take your gaze to the ceiling if that feels all right on your neck. And then inhale back up to center. Take a gentle twist because we're still warming up. Take your right hand to the left knee. Both hips stay as they are. Left hand's behind you. Inhale, get length. And then exhale, twist from the waist. And again, just a gentle twist. We're just starting out. Keep drawing that right hip back so you keep the hips stable. And inhale, come back to the center. Other side, left hand on right knee, right hand behind you. Draw that left hip back. Inhale, get length. On your exhale, twist from the waist up. And back to the center. Let's come to table. You're welcome to pad your knees and allow the wrist to be slightly in front of the shoulders. And then invite your cat-cow movements, rounding and arching the spine. And notice that space in the mid part of the spine. How is it moving? Can you maybe spend a little bit more time there trying to get a bit more articulation there? And then come to a neutral spine, extend the left leg back. Press through the ball of the foot, the heel. Extend the right arm forward. Float the left arm up. Now you can stay here. You could do a little bit of a curling action where you bring the elbow and knee towards each other. Drop your chin to your chest. Now pause here for a moment. This is the same thing about drawing the ribs towards the hip, and then you extend out. So you do this with your breath, and any wobbling that you observe is triggering the core to bring you into balance. Pause with the legs, the leg and arm extended. Lower the right hand down. And then take that left arm over to the right. Look over the right shoulder. And come back to center and extend the right leg back. Extend the left arm. So remember, once again, you can stop wherever you feel sufficiently challenged. That right leg can lift. So you're welcome to stay here. You might have enough wobbles to keep your core muscles working to stabilize you. Or you can bring elbow and knee, drop chin to chest, and then you extend out. Pause while you're extended. Lower the left hand down. And take that left leg over, the right leg over to the left, and look over the left shoulder. And then on your exhale, come back to table. Have your blocks to the front of the mat. And you'll take your right foot forward into a knee down lunge. So this is a great place to have your knee padded. Nice, and hands on the blocks allow you to, you could also, you could put your hands on your thigh. Now, what you might notice in this pose, if you're wobbly, if you bring that knee more directly over the ankle, that may give you a little more stability. So hands on the blocks is going to give you a little more balance. And you'll just begin to lengthen the front leg. Now it might not come straight, and then you bend it. As you lengthen, if you bring your blocks back with you, you might be able to get a little straighter. So just repeat that with your breath. Again, watching the sensations. Yes. Nice. And feel free to pause. Pause with the leg straight or with it bent. And just notice which muscles are stretching, which muscles have to work as you flow through these two different poses. And now the next time the knee is bent, pause here and let your hands come to this front thigh. You can stay here, really rooting down through the legs. Let that left arm rise up. Now notice you might get wobbly lifting that arm up. Root down through that right big toe a little more and notice if that helps you with your balance. And now let the hands come back down. Option to lift up the back knee before we come into a twist. Again, you can keep it down. The left hand is to the inside of the right. And then inhale, reach the right arm up for a gentle twist. Exhale, you come back. The back knee lowers, and then the front knee comes back to meet it. You're standing on your knees. Toes are curled under. Belly lifting, tailbone lengthening. And then you can lean back just to the degree that feels right for you. Notice any clenching that you don't need. See if you can soften it. And when you're ready, we'll come into Sphinx pose. And take your time as you come into your Sphinx pose to let the weight shift from hip to hip. Check the alignment of the elbows and the shoulders. And then find stillness when you're ready. Take a look to the right. Draw that left shoulder back. Or just keep the shoulder in place, I should say. Come back to center. Take a look to the left. Keep drawing that right shoulder back. And then you come back to the center. So you're welcome to stay here, or you could lift the belly, maybe the hips, maybe the thighs. So you're welcome to come into some form of forearm plank. Have your gaze to the floor so your neck is long. Take a look at the right. Keep the left hip back, left shoulder back. Come back to the center. Look to the left. So we're working our core to stabilize that right side of the body so it doesn't follow us. Come back to the center. Release down if you lifted. Then arms come to the sides, forehead to the mat, legs close together. Press into the tops of the feet. Press into the front of the hips. And then inhale, lift the head, the arms, the chest. Now notice the lower back. If there's tightness there, you might be able to just lengthen the lower back. Or maybe you lower down a little bit. So we don't want tightness in the lower back. And when you're ready, release all the way down. The hands make a pillow for the forehead. And the legs flow like windshield wipers. You can roll out your head as well on the back of the hands. This can feel And relaxing to the nervous system. Release the legs down. Hands under the shoulders to press you up. Either stretch back to a child's pose or maybe a downward dog. Bringing some length into the lower back after all that back bending. When you're ready, release to a table. We'll take that low lunge with the other leg. The left leg comes forward. And check the alignment here. Placement of the block. So notice when the front knee is bent, we're getting a stretch in this right psoas muscle. We're going to have the opportunity to go pretty deep into that muscle later. And then as you exhale, you lengthen the leg. And again, if you keep your blocks here, you might notice there's a rounding in the spine. So that's why when we take the blocks back, we can keep this length and get that rounding out that we're trying to reverse in our practice. So feel free to flow in and out and hold where it feels right to hold. And make your way to having the front knee bent when you're ready. And hands come to that front leg. So you might find balance all of a sudden gets a little more challenging when you take your hands off the blocks. So root down into the parts of the body that are touching the floor. And then maybe you extend the right arm up. Exhale, the hands come back down to the blocks. Option to lift the back knee. Right hand to the inside of the left. I like to use a block. And then inhale, twist. Exhale, come back to center, lower the back knee. And take the front knee back to meet it. Standing on your knees. Once again, that gentle leaning back and coming up. And again, just notice. Can you keep the lower back, the tailbone lengthening? And notice how that feels in the body. Your way upright, back to Sphinx pose. And stay here or lift up again. Take a look to the right, invite that stability in the core. Back to center. And look to the left. Back to center. Lower all the way down for Shalabhasana. Arms to the side, forehead to the mat, legs close together. So hips are heavy. But this time we're going to lift the legs. So let the legs rise. They come close together. Now notice when they rise, the glutes have a tendency to engage a little too much. Then you lengthen the tailbone and find ease, any amount of ease. And then maybe you lift the head, the chest, and the arms. Again, just stop when the option is creating enough sensation to make this interesting. We noticed in the beginning, perhaps, that just watching the breath was very challenging to keep your attention. So sometimes when we add some movement, that can make it a little easier. Now, if it becomes too challenging, our mind checks out. So it's got to be that Goldilocks scenario where it's just right. And release everything down. Make the pillow with your hands and windshield wiper the legs. Release the legs down. Hands under the shoulders. Press up through table, either child or downward dog. We'll make our way to the back of the mat in a forward fold. And slide your blanket out of the way. Nice deep knee forward fold so the forearms are on the thighs. Imagine a block between your thighs. You're spinning the thighs inward as you stretch the heels apart. Hands come to the hips, and inhale, you rise up. Take a gentle back bend here. Allow the front of the hips and the belly to stretch. Come to neutral. And then inhale, reach up. Take a gentle back bend. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, press into the legs, nice long spine. Next inhale, chair pose. Imagine that block between the thighs again. Can you get a little bit more of that lower belly activated? Then inhale, rise, gentle back bend. Flip the left palm to the ceiling, grab the wrist and stretch to the right. Inhale up to center. Switch sides. Back to center. Release the hands, reach up to the ceiling, and then exhale, fold forward. Inhale, press into the leg. Next inhale, chair pose. Weight on the left foot, come onto the ball of the right. Press into that left leg, straighten it. Right knee lifts. And then step the right leg down, switch the weight, and inhale, rise up. Flow side to side with your breath. And you just go as high as it feels. Again, interesting enough to keep your attention here. But sometimes too much challenge will take us out of the present moment. Pause next time you're in your seat. And then inhale, rise. Exhale, release the arms down, take them behind you, clasp them, and then take the hands on the lower back. The knuckles are pressing into the lower back to stretch across the collarbones in the front of the shoulders. Just take another breath here. On your exhale, fold forward. Now you can release the hands to the hips if the lower back would prefer that. Maybe the hands come off the lower back and reach up towards the ceiling. Again, mindful of the lower back. You want to have the hands on the hips if this is bothering it. And then release the hands apart. Come into your chair pose again. Utkatasana. Pause here. Imagine the hands on a steering wheel. Take that steering wheel to the right. Draw your left hip back. Back to the center. Steering wheel to the left. Draw the right hip back. Back to center. Inhale, rise. Release the arms on your exhale. Take the hands behind the head, soft knees. On your exhale, twist to your left, draw the right hip back. Back to center. Twist in the other direction. And back to center. Release the arms down. Weight in the left foot. Inhale the right leg up. Step it down. Inhale the left leg up. Step it down. You can add on, the arms come behind the head. Inhale, the right leg comes up and maybe you twist. Back to center, step it down. Inhale, the left leg lifts, twist left, back to center, step it down. Now you can stay with any of those or you can combine those with walking to the front of the mat. So the right leg lifts, twist right, back to center, step the right leg forward. Left leg lifts, twist left to center, step the left leg down, right leg lifts, twist right, back to center, step the right leg forward, left leg lifts, twist, release the left leg down, release the arms apart. Very nice. So we'll do a couple of Warrior One sequencing. So Warrior One, we want to have our hips facing towards the front. You can start by taking the left leg back. So the first one, we want to just be kind of slow and intentional about our alignment. You want the lower back. You want that tailbone to be able to lengthen down so there's no pinching here. Hips and ankles and knees should be free. Straighten the right knee. And then as you bend it, press into the back heel. And you feel the stretch in the front of the left hip. And now inhale, the arms reach up. Keep rooting through the legs. And then straighten the knee and lower the arms. And then inhale, bend and reach. You flow with your breath. And pause here with the knee bent. Option to take the hands behind the back as we did, clasping them and pressing the knuckles into the lower back. Stay here. Or twist to the left and then drop your torso to the inside of that right leg. Stay here or lift the hands off the lower back. Now, if you draw your belly button back, lengthen your tailbone, you might find that recruits the core a little bit more. And then inhale, you rise up. Just let the hands float to the sides. Shoulders get heavy. And then inhale, the arms reach up. Take a gentle back bend here. Invite the left hip to open as you stretch the torso. So you're stretching the lower ribs away from the hip, the opposite of what we did in that core work. Now on your exhale, Release the hands to the floor, the block, a chair. So you can lift the back leg, drop the hips, so level off the hips. Lower ribs and hip draw towards each other as you bring the knee in and drop the chin towards the chest. So this is what we did in table. Extend it back. We'll do it 3 times. Pause after the third one and just step the left foot to meet the right. Inhale, rise up, gentle back bend. Exhale, hands come to the hips. The right leg steps back. Find your warrior one leg. Might be a little bit different than the other side. Straighten the front knee. As you bend it, press into the right heel. Inhale the arms up. When you're ready, flow in and out with your breath. Allow the sensations to anchor you right here in this present moment. Pause with the knee bent, arms up. Option to take the hands, clasp the opposite way behind you. So the opposite pinky is on the bottom. Pressing the back of the knuckles, or pressing the knuckles, I should say, the back of the hands into the lower back so you broaden the chest. Twist the torso to the right. And then come to the inside of that left leg. Maybe the arms come off the lower back. Activate the core. And notice any subtle differences that makes. Then inhale, you rise. Release the hands, just let them float down. Imagine magnets on the fingertips being drawn to the floor. And inhale, the arms rise. Now watch as you come a little bit deeper into the back bend. The ribs are moving away from the hips. We're inviting space in that right psoas along the front of that right hip. On your exhale, slowly transition out of this. Hands come to the floor, block or chair. Float the back leg up, level it off. Bring the knee into the ribs and extend it back. Adding nose to knee as well. After the third round, you pause with the knee in towards the chest. Then step it down. And inhale, you rise. Take a gentle back bend. Exhale, float the hands down. Roll out the shoulders. And we'll do one more standing pose before we get to the mat and do a little bit more hip work. So this one, we're gonna come into a crescent lunge. You may find that being close to a wall or having a chair might be helpful. Let me just fix this music here, sorry. We'll start by stepping the left leg back. And we're working to get the heel off the ground. This way, both hips, this left hip is going to be prepared for the deep stretch we're going to do on the floor. Now this is a little more challenging for balance. See if you can straighten the front leg and then bend it. Just watch that stretch come in and out of that back leg. Next time the knee's bent, pause here. Now bend the back knee. Notice how you lose the stretch and then press it back. So come in and out of this and notice what happens to the lower back. So sometimes when we straighten the leg, we feel that that lower back comes into an over exaggerated arch. So just observing the connections within the body. And then you pause here, hands on the hips. Option to shift your weight to the front leg, float the back leg up for warrior 3. And then release to the front of the mat. Take that on the other side. The right leg steps back. And sometimes having the legs a little wider apart will help with your balance. Straighten the front knee. And then you bend it. And you can flow in and out of this, just watching the effect throughout the body. Pause with the knee bent, and then the back knee bends and straightens. Again, just watch. If you have your hands on your hips, the fingers wrapping around the front, you might actually feel what's going on underneath there. Feel the muscle activate and then soften. Pause with the legs straight. Shift the weight to the front leg. Engage the core, float the back leg up. Drop the right hip. Imagine a block between your thighs. That's going to activate the lower belly. And then release to the front of the mat. All right, so we're going to come to the floor. So you can have your blanket on the floor. So this is a stretch that I don't know that you're familiar with. It's something that I've been enjoying a lot lately. It's not going to work for everybody's knee. So I'm going to show an alternative before we get into it. And hold on a second. I want to just get some music that's not maybe so talky. Okay, yeah, that's better. All right. So first I'm going to demonstrate the big hip opener, and the alternative will be fish pose. So I'll show what the option for fish pose is. So you'll have your block set up behind you like you would for fish. So the part that not everyone's knee is going to like is this sort of hero's pose. So if that doesn't feel good, sometimes rolling up a blanket would be sufficient. The opposite leg is extended back. And then you're going to lean back onto your blocks, or if you have a bolster, you could do that, and support the head. So this is a deep stretch for this left psoas. It also feels really good just along the whole sort of core network of organs. Now, if that doesn't, you might even be able to tell just by looking at it that your knee is not going to be happy with that. Then both legs would extend out and the blocks would be just as they are. So fish pose. And if you're doing the half hero, I'll cue you, when we're halfway. And I'm just going to come up to the screen so you can ask me any questions that you might have. So I have the fish pose. There's different ways to lay out the blocks. I have the one for my chest, for the back of my upper back and chest at the lowest height, and then I have the one for my head at the second lowest height. You could also, if this is too much, you could roll up the blanket and then have some head support. So find a position that works. All right, so it looks like the hero leg isn't working for anybody. All right, so we'll just do the fish pose. No worries. Again, these mid to upper back openers. Very energizing for the body. And I look at these as your body's just receiving the energy. So it's not as much work as doing a big, deep back bend, but you're still getting that benefit of energy flow from having this back bend. Now, if you did want a little bit more of a hip opener, you could take the legs into a cross-legged position. So I invite you to just be curious about different configurations. If you have your legs crossed as I'm demonstrating, just hold for a couple of breaths before switching which shin will be on the bottom. So if you have that, you could switch and then just notice how this feels. It might feel like a different body, actually. And try to stay right here in the present moment. Maybe noticing whether anchoring it on the breath or anchoring it on physical sensations is most helpful. And we're going to prepare to release out of this. Knees are bent and feet on the floor. And then you may want to just gently roll to the side and come on up. And take a block to the side. Have whatever you would like for Shavasana within reach. Come back onto your back with knees bent and feet on the floor. You can grab your block, slide it under the tailbone. And now you could stay here, or if it feels okay on the lower back and hip, extend the right leg long. Now you may need to intentionally relax the lower back. Just observe the contrast between the heaviness in certain body parts and the lightness. If you've got that right leg extended, you can rebend it to switch to the other side. If you're in the supported bridge pose, you can feel free to extend the legs or take any variation. And rebend that left leg. Press into the hips, slide the block out. Slowly lower the hips down. Draw the right leg in and extend the left leg long. Enjoy a few breaths. And then let that knee come across the body in a spinal twist. Wheel back to the center. Give the knee a little hug. When you're ready, extend the right leg long. Take a moment to just check in with the two sides of the body. You can switch sides whenever you're ready. Hugging the left leg in. Enjoying a few breaths. When you're ready, take that left leg across the body for a spinal twist. And take that block with you if you find it brings ease into the body by resting the knee on it. You'll come back to the center, hug that knee in. And extend that leg long. Find your Shavasana. Once you've settled into your pose, invite stillness. Allow your next breath to be a little longer and a little deeper. And invite gentle movements. When you're ready, slowly transition to your side. Take a moment to acknowledge the gift of your practice. Ready, you can make your way up to seated. If you'd like to join me in a chant of Om, take a deep breath in. Om. Namaste. Thank you guys.